Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking and looking at the Imola GP. If you're new around here, make sure to like, subscribe. I don't want to be that guy, but just make that little subscribe box go from red to grey. It's magical. Anyway, we're going to talk about the events that happened. I'm going to go through every single driver, talk about their races, and then just talk about big events that happened. There's a few big events in this race, and also I'm going to be bringing back the meme of the race. Well, make a meme edit of something that happened in the race. Make sure to stick around to see that. It's a good one, I'm quite proud of it. Anyway, on with the video. Coming in at P20, we have Nicolas Latifi. I think he did about a lap and a bit, I think he did. Yeah, he had a bit of a crash with Nicolas Mazepin, who did have a spin in the race, but we'll get onto that afterwards. Yeah, he went off of the track. He had a little bit of a spin, went off, and he came back onto the track, and when he came back on the track, he didn't see Mazepin in his mirrors by the looks of it, just because of all the rain, and it slowly kept going right, and next thing you know, he was in the wall and out of the race. Safety car came out, and then that was the end of that for Nicolas Latifi. And then I guess we have the big talking point now. We only had 4 DNFs this race, but these two big DNFs now, we have George Russell in 19 and Valtteri Bottas in P18. Now, this was a big debate and probably the title of this video, but also this brings nicely the meme of the race. But we'll wait for the meme of the race just while I talk about what happened first. But anyway, so in the race, George Russell and Valtteri Bottas had just a tiny little colliding. Definitely did not cause a red flag because there was that much damage. But anyway, so George Russell round the outside, Valtteri Bottas down the inside, come round the king. Valtteri Bottas still taking the racing line and pushes George a tiny bit wide. Still gives him enough room. He basically just jolts to the right a bit, puts George off. George dips a wheel in the grass. Next thing you know, he's doing that sideways into Bottas. Bottas in the wall. They're both sliding. Woof, woof, explosions. Yeah, that's what happened. They both crashed. George Russell had something else to say.
What the fuck was he doing? Honestly, is he a fucking prick or what?
After he got out the car, he came out the car and basically whacked Bottas around the head. This fits in nicely with the meme of the race. So here's the meme of the race. So there you go, meme of the race. I'm quite proud of it. It's so stupid, but I'm proud of it. The title of the video is probably whose fault do I think it was. I do believe, still believe that it was more George Russell's fault. More 60-40, it was a bit of both, racing incident really. Bottas, because of that king, he was taking the racing line, is slowly moving wide to the right, which just put George off, and obviously George just left a bit more space than he needed to really. Dipped the wheel on the grass, which is obviously that's what his fault was, because he dipped the wheel on the grass, which caused the crash. George needs to be more in control there. He made a silly mistake, went a bit too wide. But then again, it went wide because of Bottas, so it really is both. I do think it's more 60-40 Russell. It's a tough decision, definitely racing incident. I don't think you can put more blame on one than the other. That was big, which then caused the red flag, which obviously helped Hamilton, but we get onto that later on. Coming in P17 and P18, the last of the runners, Mazepin, last again. Yeah, he did have a spin in the race, and he did have contact with Nicolas Latifi. Bit of a quiet race for him. Didn't really see him at all, apart from when he spun or something, but nothing much to say on him. He lasted the whole race, so it's more of an improvement than last time. Then Mick Schumacher in P16. Yeah, he's the one who actually had the spin today in the race. He had to try to warm up the tyres. You can't really weave with wet tyres because there's just not enough grip. He's weaving. Whoop, lost the back end in the wall. And then he had to do a couple laps. He crashed on the exit of the pits, so that means the pit lane was closed while they cleaned it up. So he had to do a few laps with no front wing, just driving about with cables and no front wing. Not a brilliant race for the Haas team. They're both slow, so they can't really do much, but what can you say? P15 now, Sebastian Vettel. He had a DNF, didn't even finish the race, and still finished ahead of the Haas's. How slow are them Haas's when a DNF is still ahead of them? Vettel had a bit of a poor race. He got unlucky with that whole 10-second stop-go penalty. I think that was a bit harsh after he just pitted, when it was something that happened at the beginning of the race. Like, even before the race, should have given it to him sooner, or just a less harsh penalty. But yeah, not a brilliant race from Vettel. Quiet, and he's always at the back of the grid. Hopefully he gets more time to improve, but wasn't a good race for him. P14, Antonio Giovinazzi, bit of another quiet race, didn't really see much of him. He was up there, I remember he was running in the points at some point, but nothing too special from him. Same with Kimi Räikkönen, I'm pretty sure he finished in the points, but then he got a penalty after the race, so he got moved back down. I'm not too sure what the penalty was. I think it was something to do with like a safety car infringement or something to do with the restart infringement. I wasn't too sure, but he had a penalty after the race. That's why he's down there in P13. Yuki Tsunoda now in P12. He had such an up and down race. He started last because of a crash in qualifying, and he worked his way up. He was running in the points at one point. He was having an unbelievable race. Just did really well, to be fair, until the restart after the red flag, and he spun it and basically just ruined all his hard work. Shame for Yuki. Still a rookie. Made a rookie mistake, but it shows that he still had the pace. Like I said, good pace, but just unlucky. P11, Sergio Perez. He was really slow in the wet. Got more pace in the dry. Was looking quite good, running in the points. And then he had a spin all by himself. Just lost the back end. Put it in the gravel. Ended up P14 or whatever. And worked his way up back to P11. Well, penalty and all this, whatever. Yeah, he had a penalty as well for, I can't remember now what it was. He had a 10-second penalty. I think, oh, it was for overtaking under the safety car. Shouldn't have really done it. P11 for Sergio Perez. Bit of a crap race, really. P10, Fernando Alonso gets his first points for Alpine. First points back in F1. Very quiet race. He worked quite hard. He was up and down, but then didn't get a point in the end. But then, obviously, the penalty for Kimi Räikkönen promoted him up to P10, so he finally gets his first points for Alpine. I'm pretty sure these are Esteban Ocon's first points. He finishes off in P9. Quiet race again. He also went on the gravel when the Yuki Tsunoda spun, but still kept it on the track. Finished the race. Not too bad. 2 points for Alpine. Also, can we talk about Alonso? Crashed when he was coming out, like before coming up to the grid, and he crashed in the wet. They start to replace his front nose and that, so I guess it's good that Alonso got some points in the end. P8, Lance Stroll, another really quiet race. Didn't really see much of him. Obviously, normally he shines in the wet, but had quite a quiet race. Obviously shows that the car does not really have the pace. But yeah, quite a quiet race from Lance Stroll. Nothing too special. Didn't really see much of him. Pierre Gasly, P7. Oh, I've got to say that's a pretty good drive for Pierre Gasly. He started off P5, but they put him on the wets, and it just wasn't wet enough to be on the wets. And pretty much was running last throughout that whole race. The red flag helped him out when it dried off, and he got the pace. And he had the pace in the car, but couldn't really show it. But then obviously he made his way up back to P7, which I think that's still pretty good considering where he was pretty much the whole race. P6, Daniel Ricciardo, quite a quiet race again for him. Didn't really see much of him. He was a lot slower than Lando Norris in this race. He had to let Lando Norris by. Quite a quiet race. Didn't really see much, like I said, didn't really see much of him. He was just kind of there, but P6 still good amount of points for McLaren. P5, Carlos Sainz. Now that's a pretty impressive drive for Carlos Sainz after having such a terrible start of the race, making so many mistakes, going in the gravel, going off so many times. He even said on the radio, how many more mistakes am I going to make today? Getting annoyed with himself, but good drive, kept his head cool, got on with it, and still came back in the points. P5. Good haul of points there from Ferrari. P4, Charles Leclerc running in the podium pretty much the whole race. Did quite well, sat in P3 for a long time. Just didn't have the pace at the end to hold off and fight Lando Norris or Lewis Hamilton. But pretty good race for Ferrari. P4 and P5, they'll be happy with that. Now, to the top three. Lando Norris in P3. What a drive from Lando Norris there to get P3. Another podium. His second podium of his career. That McLaren just looked quick all weekend in qualifying. He should have put it in P3, but then he had track limits. His lap time got deleted. But then in the race, he started P7 and he was really annoyed with himself, and he finally got the reward he deserved. Got his podium. Didn't have enough pace to hold off Lewis Hamilton in the end. But yeah, pretty impressive drive from McLaren, and also just for himself. Brilliant drive. And also, driver of the day. Now, P2 with Lewis Hamilton. He had another big up and down race. Had some contact with Max Verstappen at the start of the race. Pretty much running with damage the whole race, and then he pit onto the dries, and then he tried to unlap. He was lapping George Russell, and then put it in the wet patch, and he couldn't slow it down. In the wall he went, broke his front wing.
You can't park there, sir.
I know I can't park.
But luckily at the same time, that's when George Russell and Bottas had their crash. Red flag, which really saved Hamilton, as he was a lap down. He spent literally like 2 minutes in the gravel trying to get it out, reversing it. So yeah, he got really lucky with the whole red flag. It's not rigged. He drove really well. You got to give it to Lewis Hamilton. This shows why he's still good, you know. It was a good drive from him today. Brilliant drive. Very impressive to go from where he was, basically go from in the mud, and then to get this mentality right to get back into it. and to get P2. Very good. Now in P1, Max Verstappen. We all saw it coming, but this guy was in a league of his own this race. He was unbelievably fast. Only made one mistake the whole race, which is when on the restart on the red flag, he went sideways. He was like, but then straightened up again, and if he spun that there, it could have been a whole different story. But yeah, brilliant drive from Max Verstappen. Absolutely rapid the whole race. He finished 22 seconds ahead of Hamilton. Unbelievable drive from there from Max Verstappen. Went on the mediums at the right time. Yeah, just brilliant race from Max Verstappen, and a brilliant race overall. But that'll be it for today's video. Make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think of that race. I think that was one of the best races we had for a long time. So much chaotic stuff happening. Every lap something was happening. There was some drama going on there, drama going on there. Yeah, brilliant race overall. Really looking forward to this title battle. Lewis Hamilton leads the championship by 1 point because he got fastest lap. But yeah, it's going to be a very close season. I'm really looking forward to it. See you guys in 2 weeks for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Anyway, yeah, like I said, that'll be it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and see you guys in a bit.
CBA, never say I've been on my grind for 7 days. Need a race, swear to